want you to count the questions. I just want you to stay focused.
Dude, she is not happy.
So you don't have another witness here and ready to go, even though I have said over and over and over and over again to have your next witness ready to go? Not right now. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you have a particular witness. What you have been instructed is to have enough witnesses to fill the day. Okay? So if one witness is difficult, then you need to have another one lined up.
And you remember explaining that once an arrest is made by you, you shred your notes. Yes, sir. Now, in this case, you didn't shred your notes. You can't find them. Is that true? Correct.
What? Day 131 of the Young Thug YSL RICO trial was interesting. Defense lawyers cross-examined Detective Thorpe in an attempt to poke holes in his investigation. Towards the end of the day, the state doesn't have any witnesses ready, even though the judges instructed them to have witnesses ready at all times. Yeah, boys, the last half of this video is where things get heated with the judge and Miss Love, and she's just unprepared. Like, you'll see, Miss Love is just a disaster. Hit subscribe, join the channel membership. Let's go, boys. First look at Thug on day 131. He's got the tan suit on today. All right, Detective Thorpe up on the stand. He's been talked about a lot. We've heard his name a shit ton, so let's see what happens.
I work in the city of Atlanta now for 30 years and 9 months.
Is there a particular kind of crime that you see more of today that you did not see back in 95?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you tell the jury what types those are?
Mostly gang activity shootings, related shootings.
This trial is f***ing doomed.
Did you interact with a student by the name of Quindarius Zachary?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe when you first met Quindarius Zachary. How old was he?
I say he'd be about 11 years old.
That's kind of crazy. Quindarius' first run-in with a police officer was when he was f***ing 11 in middle school.
Indicators or signs of the ways that people calling themselves Red Cartel identify themselves.
They mostly wear the color red.
Without speaking specifically about what they said, what types of things beyond what you've already testified about did you gather from the students that allowed you to help them navigate?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Miss Love is struggling with the formal question here, boys.
Did you share with the students the information that you had from growing up or other sources about gang activity? Sustained. Attempt to keep students from being involved in gangs. Sustained. Did the information that you were able to gather from the students in any way inform your investigations and ability to get information about criminal investigations later on as a detective?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not certain what exactly maybe tailor your questions. Okay.
Dude, Miss Love is not qualified for this job, man.
What age did you learn about, or did you meet John Tavy Stevens?
Age 11.
Did you know Shannon Stillwell as a young person?
No, I did not know Shannon Stillwell.
Did you have an occasion to respond to that location on January 10th, 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got on scene, did you make any efforts to locate surveillance footage?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the jury what efforts you took to locate surveillance footage.
Immediately, it caught my attention where there was cameras fixed on the barbershop at 330 McDaniel Street. Also, I noticed that there were surveillance cameras down at the gas station at the intersection of McDaniel Street and Northside Drive.
Did you get any specific details about the make and model of the car? Any definitive details?
No, ma'am, except that it was probably a silver or a light gray colored vehicle. Basically, there was a subject that came inside an assault rifle.
Now, when you say a subject that came inside with an assault rifle,
So that's Donovan Thomas's brother that walked in with an assault rifle.
did you later learn whether that person had any relationship to either of the victims?
Yes,
And what did you learn that person's relationship was to either of the
it
victims?
was their son and the brother of the decedent.
Are you able to force people to get involved more when you're conducting crime scene investigations?
No, ma'am.
Are you not able to take people down to the police station if they tell you that they have some information?
We can ask them for their consent. If they say no, and we force them down, it's called kidnapping.
So yeah, obviously people aren't going to want to talk.
How long after January 10th, 2015, did you talk with Spencer Wright without saying anything Spencer Wright said?
Probably around the month of October 2015.
Was there anyone with you when you learned of Spencer Wright?
Yes.
Who?
Detective Gaither of the gang unit.
Did you direct anyone to reach out to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And who did you direct to reach out to you?
Kenneth Copeland.
How did you reach out, or how did you direct Kenneth Copeland to reach out to you?
Upon returning to the homicide office, I can start my investigation of a shooting that just happened on Van Island.
Mm-hmm.
And from what the officers gathered was that this was...
Sustained.
Yeah.
We won't talk.
How do all these detectives, like Dennis did the same thing, how do they not know that they can't talk about what other people said?
About the officers on Van Island and what they said.
Okay.
But were you able to determine?
It was Kenneth Copeland's baby mother's house.
All right. Did you tell him that he had to come upstairs and talk with you?
No, I didn't tell him he had to come upstairs.
Did you have the ability at that time to force him, or would that have been another situation like kidnapping?
Yes, ma'am. I've been in a situation like kidnapping.
Showing the jury that Woody was not forced to talk.
Were you telling him the people that you wanted him to talk about, or were you asking him for information or something in the middle?
Yeah, I was asking for information, and pretty much the question was always in the middle.
She trying to point out that he was just yapping about everyone, not really asked about Thug or anyone, but...
When you began talking with Mr. Copeland, did you have knowledge about any people that you wanted him to give you information on?
No, ma'am.
Ever release a make and model of a car, to your knowledge?
No, ma'am.
Would you tell the jury the ways that you followed up on whatever Kenneth Copeland told you?
Yes, the information I got from Kenneth Copeland, I immediately went to Detective Dennis and Detective Gaither to see if they knew about this information. They knew about it. They gave me details on it. He was able to find that they had already started an investigation themselves into it, I believe. The Red Cartel to the Rock Crew, which stood for Raised on Cleveland, and it went over to YSL.
How did you learn this information that you just talked about?
Talking to the kids and working in the neighborhood.
Do you remember, in particular, the persons that were involved in the 2 homicides, victim and suspects? Your Honor, we
Steele objecting to that question about the victims.
and information that this witness can provide, we believe that the witness has information which will allow the determination of certain material matters in this case. He can, I don't want to overrule, who were the victims in the 2 homicides?
The one particular I investigated, her name was Julian Jones.
And who was the suspect?
He was not a suspect.
Hang on.
403, 401, 402.
403, 401, 402 objections from Steele.
Talked about as it related to Rock Crew. I believe that the one that he is going to talk about is going to deal with information given by other witnesses and allows the jury to determine the credibility of information that they have heard from other witnesses. It's not bolstering because it's his personal knowledge. Determine things that are pertinent to this indictment, the existence of the enterprise, some of the information in the indictment about the start of the enterprise, its
Why do I feel like she's just yapping right now? What is she saying?
beginnings, the kind of crimes that have been committed. It's relevant. We're talking about YSL and the beginnings of YSL and the groups from which YSL evolved. The relevant standard is a very low standard.
Is it that prong of it, Mr. Steele, or something else?
Every prong of it, right?
Every prong.
Well, him saying every prong, Your Honor, any information that tends to prove an allegation in the indictment is going to be prejudicial to a defendant. And Mr. Steele or no one on behalf of the defendant Williams is offering up how it unfairly prejudices Mr. Williams for the state to be able to prove elements in the indictment, the existence of the gang, the beginnings of the gang as we allege, the conspiracy itself. He hasn't. I don't know how it's unfairly prejudicial in such a way.
Whose phone made that noise? Somebody knows whose phone made the noise. Whose phone made the noise? Okay, whether it's outside a bag or not, phones aren't supposed to be making noise. So if you can't turn the phone off before you come into court, then you're not going to be able to have the phone in court.
She's talking to someone in the media side.
If the point of it is that Stevens was a material witness and knew something about it.
No, that I'm tying it into alleged members of YSL, activities that they participate in, and the way that they operate as an enterprise, the existence of the enterprise.
All right, tell me how whatever you think this witness is going to say is going to do that.
It gives the jury the information that the witness is aware of a particular murder that involved 2 Rock Crew and then later YSL.
He's going to be able to testify that they were involved in this murder?
No, they didn't do the murder.
Okay, so what is it then?
Your Honor, their involvement and their association with one another, we have to prove association between members of YSL. We have to prove the type of enterprise it is. We have to, and the type of activities and the lengths to which they go to protect and preserve it. So,
And what is it that this witness is going to say about either of those 2 people that's going to show that?
Your Honor, the existence of those people and their associations, number one, and
She's not letting this shit in.
this person saying this directly proves a fact. It's evidence that is relevant in that it gives the jury information.
Don't tell me what it's going to do. Tell me what the evidence is. I mean, I don't know your case as well as you do. So I don't know what it is that you think this witness is going to say that's going to show any of that.
Trontavia Stevens was...
Holy shit.
How is this witness going to testify to connections between Porter and Stevens?
based on what his investigation and his involvement in the investigation of the murder. He interviewed...
Just going to show that these 2 people knew each other?
No,
You're
so-
not telling me anything. So,
to the ex-
I mean, I'm trying to follow you.
Miss Love is intentionally not telling her. She doesn't want the defense to know. She's being strategic, but the judge is clearly not going to allow it in.
Maybe I'll take a bathroom break, and then when you come back, you'll be able to articulate what it is. So let's all...
I think that was the worst response that Miss Love has ever had trying to get evidence in.
He's going to be saying, I learned XYZ. Well, how did you learn it? Well, somebody told me, right? So it's still hearsay, even if you rephrase it in a different way.
Still hearsay, Miss Love.
Your Honor, I appreciate the fact that the state's withdrawing this line of inquiry. However, I would just like to say, moving forward, this is an example. Alleged crime, or it was adjudicated in court from 2011, I believe. Is not on the indictment. There was no 404B notice. There was no 418 notice. There was no discussion of this as an intrinsic act. So, I just don't think that we should just be bringing up wholly unrelated murders.
How is that allowed? Someone explain to me. Not on the indictment, not involved in YSL really at all, to be honest.
Just willy-nilly without at least noticing the other side of our plans to do so.
Seems reasonable.
It was alleged that Trontavia Stevens was the intended target. So, in as much as the questions that I asked may involve incidents that YSL members were involved in, number one is going to be things that have been provided in discovery. But number two, just because it's another act
60% of you aren't subscribed. I'm going to say this every video because what the f***? Hit subscribe, dude.
relevant information and evidence of the existence and the nature of the enterprise that they claim is a rap group. So every time that we present evidence, something that proves the existence of the enterprise and the nature of the enterprise, there has been and will be the objection that it's 403, it's too prejudicial, but
I agree with that.
We've never spoken about this. There's no mention in the discovery. To my knowledge, certainly no police reports about. There's no mention of that in the discovery, to my recollection. Even if they had given notice for their discovery, there's also Georgia rules of evidence that dictate when notice needs to be given when bringing up extrinsic, non-charged matters in a trial, and that has not been done. And I just don't want.
But I'm not sure how evidence that Porter told Crittenden Stevens' whereabouts
so
in any way establishes any of your elements that you need to prove for RICO.
It doesn't. Thank you, Judge.
did you have an occasion to investigate more about the group YSL?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that the most extensive investigation that you have done that has involved in which the name or group YSL has come up?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What is the
She's trying to word it correctly, but it's not going to work.
who in the gang unit gave you information during the course of your investigation of murder Diamond Thomas?
It was Detective, Gay 4 Detective Dennis.
By the way, this is the detective that Woody called a squirrel brain. I don't know if I pointed that out earlier or not, but
And Atlanta Police Department who are very familiar with vehicles.
And we're not talking about what anyone said unless I specifically asked you.
why do these detectives always try to get into what other people said every time? It's insane.
What was the specific make and model of the vehicle you were interested in?
I believe it was an Infiniti Q35.
Did you take any steps to compare information you got in one interview with information you may have gotten in another?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you in any way use those comparisons to sort of either dispel information as untrue or corroborate information?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you learn from anyone in particular who may have rented the vehicle that you were looking into, the Infinity?
Yes, ma'am.
Cause for hearsay.
The evidence has come in, and if we may approach so that I don't improperly.
So now she's getting into the rental vehicle situation where Thug is connected to all this. So pretty much the only way Thug is connected to this.
Before you got the name Jeffrey Williams from Kenneth Copeland as being the person who rented
Oh, and Woody snitching, but I don't think the jury can even really take anything Woody said as fact.
Infinity from Hertz, did you know that Jeffrey Williams had rented an Infinity from Hertz?
No, ma'am.
Who are some of the people whose phone numbers you got during this investigation?
I believe it was Kenneth Copeland, Mickey and Garlington, known as Morton, I believe it was.
Antonio Sledge?
Yes, ma'am.
It is my understanding that Detective Thorpe did not interview Mr. Williams. I would object to any questions. Did you interview Mr. Williams? I just don't see the relevance of it. It already came out. I objected to it. Did Mr. Williams come down? It was with Mr. Sledge. I objected to that question by the prosecutor. Did Mr. Williams come down? Did you, Mr. Sledge, speak with the police, with Mr. Cope? Did Mr. Williams come down? I asked the court that comments on pre-arrest silence, and I don't want Mr. Williams' name to come up. Did you speak with or interview Mr. Williams?
It was talked about that Mr. Williams encouraged Mr. Sledge to take Kenneth Copeland to the police station, and that the state instructed the witness to not tell the jury that. The fact that if it's relevant that Mr. Williams encouraged him, the pre-arrest silence prohibition does not apply to if Mr. Williams is encouraging someone to go. Did Mr. Williams go with him did Mr. Williams ever go down to the police station himself to talk about the fact that his stepfather's house was shot up?
I don't think a question that just says, did you interview A, did you interview B, did you interview C, and the answer is either yes or no, is a comment on pre-arrest silence if they say no.
Have a search or an arrest warrant signed for Antonio Sledge for the murder of Diamond Thomas.
Yes, I believe so, I did.
Is that a person that the district attorney's office declined to prosecute for the murder?
Yes, ma'am.
Execute an arrest warrant for Kenneth Copeland.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the district attorney's office decline to prosecute Kenneth Copeland?
Yes, ma'am.
Defense lawyer's gonna have a field day on cross-examination, bro.
Did the district attorney's office indict people that you had not arrested or executed arrest warrants for?
Yes, they did.
Were you ever able to obtain any surveillance footage from a McDonald's on Cleveland Avenue?
I believe that was not to my knowledge.
When you obtained information in an interview, to follow up on each piece of information, or did you just discard some and just... Are you familiar with a place called the Green Store?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you ever able, or did anyone give you reason to believe there was surveillance footage at the Green Store of interest to you?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, state's done with direct. Here we go with cross with Brian Steele.
January 11th of 2015.
Yes, sir.
So just to orient you and the jury, you're at the Atlanta Police Department with Kenneth Copeland. That's what I'm focused on, okay?
Yes, sir.
And there's something in evidence already. It's a video audio recording.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever stopped in Infinity before? Have I? Yeah. From accident in Infinity? From maximum? Have I ever had covered him? Mm-hmm. No. Let me think. If I did you? Anytime. I had covered him at Pontiac. That was a couple years ago. I ain't had no coverage. I ain't had no rig. I ain't had no. Y'all ever had a Infinity Gray? A Gray Infinity Q45 before? A truck? No. A cup? Yeah. Man, I know them.
I guess Brian Steele's trying to show that initially Woody was saying they've never had an Infinity.
So you were asking Mr. Copeland questions about a gray, potentially rental car Infinity. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And this is within 8 hours, approximately, of the shooting of Mr. Donovan Thomas and 2 other people, right?
Yes, sir.
So Steele's obviously going to go after the investigation here because there is a lot of bullshit in this investigation.
Those questions, Mr. Copeland was there because you had information, I believe, that the streets were calling his name about being involved in this crime, right?
Yes, sir.
You had already, obviously, information that he may have been involved with that car. Is that fair to say?
Objection A is to that car.
The car that I just referred to. Gray, Renault, car, Infiniti.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He denied any knowledge or access to that type of vehicle that we just saw, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had a reason to believe that he was not being truthful, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, is to the improper form.
Sustained.
You did not, at that point, you had information contrary to his denial. True?
Yes, sir.
Tells you about McDonald's, right?
Yes, sir. Talking about McDonald's.
And that McDonald's, the jurors have seen pictures and they've heard the address, but which I'm about on Cleveland Avenue. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And it's near a laundromat. If you're familiar with the area.
Yes, sir.
You have a laundromat, maybe auto place, and across the street is other establishments, including a gas station, convenience store. Fair?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, at that time, were there cameras, when I say cameras, surveillance cameras, on the laundromat building?
I believe so. There was.
Were there cameras on the McDonald's?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Were there cameras on the auto parts store?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Were there cameras across the street on the convenience store, gas station?
So why wouldn't they get footage of everyone meeting at the McDonald's then?
When you went to those establishments, or did you go to those establishments?
Yes,
Your
sir.
Honor, I object on the basis of assuming facts. There was no. The question was regarding an alibi and base.
God, I hate Miss Love.
Did you attempt to locate and ask for, use subpoena power, jurors may not use a search warrant, to get any of those video surveillance cameras if they exist?
I went and checked to see the video footage. So they had video footage that could be of use. And that's when I'll go and obtain the search warrant. Indicate in the search warrant, this is the time frame I'm looking for. I believe at McDonald's, they already reached their 15-day mark. The video footage, I think, is already overwritten, I believe.
Jury that you would take notes and put this all in your reports, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you have to do that. You have to document what you're doing, right? So can you tell the jurors whether you ever put in your report anywhere that you saw the video at the McDonald's or you spoke with somebody?
No, I believe I do not.
Is there a reason you did not put that detail in your report?
No, because I just didn't have any evidence from that. So that's why I'm documenting in my report.
Well, that's like seems like a very important part.
How about your notes then? Did you ever, where are your notes today?
I couldn't find my notepad.
Did Bird just say he couldn't find his notepad?
To be fair, jury, I asked you about your notes previously, fair?
Yes, sir.
And you said the same thing, you can't find it, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's gone.
Yes, sir.
In your report, did you put anything about going to the auto parts store to inquire about their surveillance?
No, sir.
Convenience store, gas station, their surveillance equipment. Did you go there and ask them for theirs?
I believe I would have asked them for theirs.
You did not?
I believe I did not.
Okay. And how about the laundromat across the street from McDonald's?
I don't think their system was working at that time.
Do you remember who you spoke with?
No.
Lawyer 101, poking holes in investigation.
Mr. Copeland told you that on January, he told you also that he was at around the Green Store at around the time of Mr. Thomas being shot. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware, did you find out, did you look for it, whether the Green Store had surveillance cameras?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did the Green Store have surveillance cameras?
I believe their system was down also.
Okay. And who did you speak with?
I can't recall the person's name.
And did you put it's not in your report, fair to say?
No, sir.
And the notes are gone.
Yes, sir.
Like if he went to the screen store or the auto store, all these stores, and they didn't have surveillance footage, is it normal for them not to note down shit?
Now, surveillance footage is a good tool. Would you agree with that for
Yes,
law
sir.
enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Because the surveillance camera, if it's properly working, no one tampered with it, it doesn't really have any motivation or agenda. Is that fair?
Overruled.
And it just captures, if it's working properly, the images that it has in front of it, right? True. So we wouldn't really have to debate whether Mr. Copeland or others were at a McDonald's if we had that surveillance.
Objection, false speculation.
Sustained.
He made the denial of the Infiniti for what we just played. That got you interested in maybe he's not being forthright. Is that fair?
Objection, Your Honor, is improper questions regarding.
Sustained.
You questioned whether he was being truthful with you. Is that fair to say? Did you have questions on his answers that he denied the Infiniti? How did you take it when Mr. Copeland said, no, I don't have anything to do, no memory of the Infiniti?
Objection, Your Honor, vague
Overruled on that basis.
How did I take it?
and relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Jeffrey Williams rented a Corvette vehicle from Hertz rental car at the airport. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jurors what evidence you have that Jeffrey Williams drove that Infiniti rental vehicle.
Objection, Your Honor, regarding matters that was in the province of the jury in terms of evidence.
Rephrase.
Do you have any evidence to share with the jury?
That's the issue, but just rephrase the question.
I think that's proper.
Rephrase the question.
Bird said, I think it's proper. All right, Steele's done with the cross. Max Shard up.
Okay, that was the day that you spoke to the person who identified himself as Nicholas Robinson, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to talk to you about how that happened. Now, this Nicholas Robinson, he was in custody, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He had, on that day, on October 19, 2015, he had been arrested for a felony offense of theft by receiving, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
And he was also at probation notice.
Yes, sir.
Was on his way to Rice Street, to 901 Rice Street, to Fulton County Jail.
Yes, sir.
And your fellow officers called you and said, this person may have information on something you're working.
Yes, sir.
On direct, as I understand your testimony, you testified that you did not think Nicholas Robinson was trying to help himself out by talking.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when I say help himself out, I'm talking about get consideration on charges that were now pending against him. And your testimony is you do not believe that he was trying to get help for those. Is that your testimony? You don't believe he was trying to get curry favor and get help with his pending charges?
He may have, but that was not up to me.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Prior to October 19, 2015, prior to the date he had been arrested, had Nicholas Robinson ever come up to you and tried to give you information?
No, sir.
You decided to conduct a formal interview with this person who, to you, was known as Nicholas Robinson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was he wearing at that time of the formal interview? Was he in Rice Street Blues yet? During the course of your interview with Nicholas Robinson, he continued to refer to himself as Nicholas Robinson, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you referred to him as Nicholas Robinson because you believed that was his identity, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he never corrected you.
Yes, sir.
You all, without getting into what was said, you all spoke about the shooting of Donovan Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Gaither informed you this man's name was not, in fact, Nicholas Robinson, correct?
Yes, sir, but it was not after the interview. It was during the interview.
Okay, during the interview.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Gaither informed you that this man was not, in fact, Nicholas Robinson.
Correct.
And his name was Spencer Wright.
Correct.
Bro got played, was given a fake name, and probably lied to by whoever this is. I mean, come on now. Like, any information he said.
Obtained refreshers, taken refresher courses on writing reports, correct?
Yes, sir.
You've been trained that your reports are to be accurate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, accurate about evidence received,
Yes, sir.
accurate about things that have been told to you,
Yes, sir.
and accurate about the work you do on a case, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're supposed to document that work, correct?
Yes, sir.
These reports are also supposed to be complete, correct?
Yes, sir.
You testified that you went to the McDonald's to search for a surveillance video.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what date?
I believe it was not the 11th, it was the 12th. January 12th. January.
Okay, January 12th, you went to the McDonald's
Yes, I believe it
to
was.
look for a video. Who did you talk to at McDonald's? What was their name?
I cannot recall the name.
Did you record any of this?
No.
None of this is in your report.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's not.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The auto parts store. When did you go speak to people at the auto parts store?
Maybe a couple days later.
And who went with you?
Nobody.
And is that recorded?
No, sir.
And is that mentioned in your reports for APD?
No, sir.
So if it's normal for them to put down this in all their reports, then this is bad. I mean, this is like basic things he should have just jotted down for just records.
When did you realize you lost your notepad?
Objection, Your Honor.
Miss Love, shut the how is that not relevant? God, I hate her.
Paul, I knew that upon hearing the indictment, I went looking for the case file, and I could not find the case file.
Did you not hand over your notepad to the DA's office when you handed over your file?
No.
I believe you said that no one told you that they had surveillance. Is that not correct?
I can't recall, but I believe it was to that degree that the video system was not working, so they didn't have video.
In your investigation, were you able to determine Kelvin Watts' whereabouts on January 10, 2015 at 7:20 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to object based on hearsay. It would necessarily require.
And where was Kelvin Watts?
He was at the location. This is that location.
Where Donovan Thomas was shot?
Yes, sir.
How far away was he from Donovan Thomas?
Your Honor, we approach him. You may.
Shell Kel was there? Is that what he just said? So Shell Kel low-key could have been the target.
Investigator Thorpe, how did you determine that Kelvin Watts was on the scene?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to assuming facts not in evidence, and I'm going to ask for the proper foundation.
Overruled.
The video surveillance footage of this person coming inside the barbershop, and his father called me and notified me that the person I'm looking for, Salt Lake, is actually his son, Calvin Watts.
Let me try to clear this up.
I think he's mistaking Kelvin Watts with the other brother of Donovan Thomas.
Does Donovan Thomas Sr. have multiple sons? Would looking at your report refresh your recollection about who was in the barbershop? Who was in fact the individual that was in the barbershop with the gun?
DeMonte Thomas.
Okay, and is that another one of Donovan Thomas's senior's children?
Yes, sir.
Now, Kelvin Watts, I'm going to ask again, do you know whether he was at the scene or not?
No, sir.
You don't know one way or another?
No, sir.
Okay, and did you ever specifically ask him, without giving me the answer, did you ever specifically ask him when you interviewed him about a different case? Did you ever specifically ask him if he was at the scene or not?
Yes, sir.
You've seen the surveillance video, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to identify all of the people that were standing by Mr. Donovan Thomas Jr. when he was shot?
No, sir.
So Kelvin could have been there, but no one, I mean, I already thought in a previous video that all the people standing around Donovan Thomas when they got shot at probably left because they didn't want to talk to the cops. They just wanted to probably retaliate. All right, Miss Love, redirect.
Did he ever tell you that he was at the Green store at the time of Donovan Thomas's murder?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever tell you he was at the McDonald's at the time of Donovan Thomas's murder?
No, ma'am.
How is it that you give to the district attorney's office the results of your investigation? Do you normally just turn over your notepad or do you summarize it in a report?
I summarized it in a report. It was part of the lead investigative supplement.
So they don't turn over their notepad.
All of your interactions with Kenneth Copeland, did he ever change his whereabouts as to where he was at the time of the murder?
No, ma'am, we did not.
You were also asked whether you interviewed Kelvin Watts. And when you said it was in the course of another investigation, do you recall what investigation that was?
Yes, ma'am.
What investigation was that?
It was a homicide.
A homicide of who?
I can't recall the victim's name. It was a young lady.
Did Kenneth Copeland make any effort, to your knowledge, to hide the phone that he had with him during the interview?
No, ma'am.
Did you see Kenneth Copeland make any moves to conceal the phone from your eyesight?
No, ma'am.
During that interview, did Kenneth Copeland pull out his cell phone and show you and offer to show you information?
I believe he did, yes.
Did you see him pulling it out and sending it towards you?
No, he was mostly keying it up himself.
Was he keying it up himself in front of you under your nose?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, the narrative that Woody wasn't trying to snitch and he was forced to talk is kind of laughable.
Was it common or uncommon for the people you were interviewing to essentially key up information under your nose?
No, ma'am, it's not unusual.
Did anyone else do that during the course of your investigation?
No, ma'am.
When you turned your file over to the district attorney's office in 2016, did you also turn over the recordings that included the interviews that you conducted?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he also give you information about persons who were at the McDonald's with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Through your investigation, did you attempt to and gain phone records for people who he said were at the McDonald's with him?
Yes, ma'am.
So the phone records is how he verified it. They think that Woody was telling the truth because they verified the phone records.
Did Mr. Copeland, to your memory, give you information during any one of his interviews about where he and other people went after leaving the McDonald's?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that?
Jeffrey Williams, residence.
She is taking her precious time, bro. It's been like 45. She's taking longer than what they did on Cross.
Are you about to wrap up with this witness? Okay, and then how long's your next witness going to be?
I'm trying to see how fast you can actually be here because our next witness was one down that list.
So you don't have another witness here and ready to go, even though I have said over and over and over and over again to have your next witness ready to go?
Our best efforts have been made to make that happen. I'm not going to represent them or not. I just want to find out where they are before I say
Can we know who the mystery witness is? Could you speak into the mic, please?
who arrested you.
Wait, who arrested Quindarius Zachary? They don't have their witness ready, and they're wasting more time calling someone who arrested Quindarius Zachary. The state clearly doesn't believe that Quindarius Zachary is sick. That's what this is. They think he's lying, and apparently whoever arrested him thinks they... What the fuck is going on, dude?
I mean, frankly, I'd rather that a witness get... I don't want anybody inconvenienced, but I'd rather you have an extra witness here than we have an hour left with the jury, but nothing to fill their time. So how much longer are you going to have with this witness?
About 30 minutes.
30 minutes more with this witness? Okay, again, this is redirect.
She said again, this is redirect. That's pretty much what I was saying. How is she taking so long on redirect?
I don't want you to count the questions. I just want you to stay focused.
Dude, she is not happy.
Do we have an answer to the question how long the next witness is away? Okay, well, let's just continue with the redirect, and then there may or may not be any recross, and then we'll see if the witness is here yet. And okay, so let's get the witness and get the jury.
Dude, Miss Love's like scrambling. She's not ready for her next witness. She's unprepared. This case is too big. It should have never...
Efforts to secure one of the witnesses and the difficulty that we have had with respect to that witness. I expected that witness would be coming in. It's the one we've been discussing, but I think it's pertinent information.
Not right now. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you have a particular witness. What you have been instructed is to have enough witnesses to fill the day. Okay? So if one witness is difficult, then you need to have another one lined up. Let's get the jury, please.
This is such a terrible look for Fulton County and Fonnie Willis.
Did you detail in your report the description of the vehicle that Kenneth Copeland said participated in that shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you detail in your report after that shooting, you spoke with both Kenneth Copeland and his child's mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you detail in your report that happened on February 21st, 2015? Did you detail in your report, you were asked regarding Mr. Steele, you were asked about your questions to Kenneth Copeland and the gray Infiniti or Maxima. Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you detail in your report whether or not you were looking for...
I'm gonna kill myself if she goes through this report question one more time, dude. Trying to hammer it home that his reports are like thorough and good, but at this point, it's like, dude, come on, we get it.
one witness that may or may not have been consistent with the information you got from another witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this point, I'm going to object to this question under 403.
And Your Honor, my response is, when the question was asked about what he did not put in his report, I think it's important that that the jury is aware of what all he did put in his report. Overruled.
How is that overruled? This is literally a waste of time.
Did you detail in your report information that you got from the anonymous person about what may have led to the shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did he not put in, if you think about it this way, he did all this shit in his report. How did he not put in that he went to these places for surveillance and there was nothing?
You interviewed Mr. Stillwell as a victim in that case, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Kenneth Copeland told you that he was not present at a murder, correct? He told you when you spoke to him in these interrogations that just prior to the murder,
Yes, sir.
in interviews, just prior to the murder, his claim was he was at the green store.
Yes, I believe that was one. He said he was in bed.
Okay.
Also, he was at home in bed.
And then went to the green store.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's the store that...
I object as to mischaracterization of information of the evidence.
That's absolutely not a mischaracterization. What time did he get out of bed?
I do not know.
So, after he got out of bed, according to him, he went to the green store.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the store that's a block and a half or 2 blocks away from where Mr. Thomas was shot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then his story to you was after the shooting, he was at the McDonald's.
Yes, sir.
Over the last 30 minutes or so, I'm not going to go through all of them. Ms. Love asked you about 75 different things that are in your report, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the bottom line is your report is thorough, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, your report includes going to the airport
Yes, sir.
to look for rental records in the name of Jeffrey Williams from Hertz Rental or from any rental car company at the airport.
Correct.
Okay, and the reality is, at that time, you did not find any records, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that was a negative. You received negative results.
Correct.
Okay, but despite the fact that you got negative results from the rental companies at the airport, you still put your efforts to find evidence in the report, correct?
Yes, sir.
Looking for rental records, not finding a major report, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but going to the Green Store, looking for surveillance and not finding it, that didn't make the report.
Yes, sir.
Going to the McDonald's, looking for surveillance and not finding it, that didn't make the report.
Yes, sir.
Going to the convenience or going to the AutoZone or the auto parts store right next to the McDonald's and not finding surveillance, that didn't make the report.
Yes, sir.
It's a pretty good point. That's kind of what I was saying. Like, if his shit was so detailed, what the fuck was he thinking?
Your testimony seems to be the only things that didn't make your report.
Your
You
Honor, I
were,
object to the characterization of the testimony. The jury can hear what the testimony
you were just
was.
asked by Ms. Love if anything else didn't make the report, and you said no, correct?
Yes, sir.
So your testimony is the only 3 things that didn't make your report are going to the McDonald's, going to the Green Store, and going to the auto parts store looking for surveillance.
Yes, sir.
And we can't find your notes.
Correct, sir.
There's no mention, and if there is a mention, just tell me I missed it. There's no mention of getting the McDonald's video in your report. Am I true?
Yes, sir. You're right.
And there's no mention of getting the video of what we're calling the Green Store, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're going back approximately 9 years, 8 years, 9.5 years, whatever the date is, to your memory of when you went to the McDonald's, right?
Yes, sir.
But you can't remember who you spoke with at the McDonald's, right?
Yes, sir.
And to be fair to you, are you telling this jury on your oath that McDonald's told you that the day before or 2 days before, we don't have that video?
Your Honor, objection is to the question was asked and answered, and to ask if he's telling an oath.
For whatever reason, those notes have vanished, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you remember testifying
Yes, sir.
in this courthouse, another judge?
Yes, sir.
Powerful like Judge Whitaker?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember testifying in a case?
Where's he going with this? He's bringing up another case testifying about notes?
Mr. Relevance.
I don't know what the relevance might be, so I can't
Any-
rule on that.
Your Honor, this is a whole other.
Why don't we approach?
And do you remember the prosecutor in that case being Miss Love?
Yes, sir.
What?
Do you remember explaining that your notes were also not around? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember explaining that once an arrest is made by you, you shred your notes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in this case, you didn't shred your notes. You can't find them. Is that true?
Correct.
Why not just get a little filing cabinet and put a notepad in there, dude? This is just what a lawyer does right here, poking holes. He found a 2016 case of this motherfucker shredded shit.
So instead, if you're writing about your and my going to lunch on Notepad, but then you're going to do another day that you're going to eat lunch with the Honorable Keith Adams, you would rip up the parts that you met with me so you have a refurbished or clean Notepad to talk about when you went to lunch with Mr. Adams. Is that what you're saying?
No, basically, I take a new notepad and I may use it as a notepad as I'm assisting another detective who is the lead. So, or I'm going out on a suicide or a kidnapping or anything death-related investigation. So I'll just use that notepad instead of taking a brand new one.
Sure.
And using that one.
So the empty sheets is what you're saying?
Correct.
Since we don't have the notes, you didn't give those notes to the district attorney's office, correct?
No, sir.
All right. That there were certain people in this case that you charged with murder on about October 20th, 2015. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
One of those people was Mr. Sledge, who came out, right?
Yes, sir.
One of those people was Mr. Copeland, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember stating that you're aware that the district attorney's office did not charge the offensive murder of Donovan Thomas to Mr. Sledge? You aware of that? Remember those questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And same with Mr. Copeland. They did
Yes,
not
sir.
charge him with that. You never charged Jeffrey Williams with murder of Donovan Thomas. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You never charged Jeffrey Williams with any crimes. Fair to say?
Yes, sir. 30%.
You know the district attorney's office hasn't charged Jeffrey Williams with the murder of Donovan Thomas.
Well, actually, I'll let him go with that one. I thought he was going to answer a different question. I withdraw the objection.
You're aware that the district attorney's office through the grand jury did not charge Jeffrey Williams with the murder of Donovan Thomas. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any information to share with this jury that Jeffrey
Your Honor,
Williams...
as it relates to this portion regarding the objection about the scope, I would object that it goes beyond.
Sustained.
No other questions.
And Detective Thorpe, I know nobody in here believes that I'm going to be brief, but I really am going to be brief.
Yeah, no one believes you're going to be brief.
Did you put in your report that you took gunshot residue samples off Kenneth Copeland's hands at the time that you interviewed him?
I believe I didn't.
You did not?
I believe I did. I can't recall.
Could you please look at your report and see if it refreshes your memory? Test on Kenneth Copeland's hands.
Yes, I did.
How do you know that you did?
By the video. I believe it was on the video.
Was that something substantial that you considered during your investigation that you did
Yes, ma'am.
gunshot residue?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you put it in your report then?
Overlook.
Did you put every piece of information in the report that you talked to? And when I say every piece, I mean, did you put every detail of your interview with Kenneth Copeland into your report?
No, ma'am. That's why the video is included. It's referring to details
Okay.
from the video.
Did you put in your report that after you took gunshot residue from Kenneth Copeland's hands, that you resumed your interview with him
No, ma'am.
after he got up? Mr. Sharp specifically asked him, did he tell you he went to the green store after he got up?
Overruled, but let's keep in mind that we're on redirect at this point. Ask if whatever the necessary few questions are, and let's be done with this witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
What a f***ing disaster.
Getting from Mr. Copeland exactly how long it was before or after Mr. Thomas got shot that he actually got up from his girlfriend's house.
No, ma'am.
At the time that you took out those warrants in October of 2015, did you know that Jeffrey Williams had rented the gray Infiniti?
No, I did not.
Your report included verbatim what Kenneth Copeland said to you in the interviews. Remember that?
Yes,
Okay, you didn't need to put what he said verbatim because it's on a video, right?
correct.
That's about the gunshot residue. Whether you put that collection of the gunshot residue from Kenneth Copeland, whether you put that in your report, right?
Correct.
And you didn't because you didn't need to because that was on video, correct?
Correct.
All right. Where is the video of you going to McDonald's and asking for surveillance?
Objection, Your Honor. That was asked and answered about the.
Overruled.
assuming
Where's
background
it-
evidence
where's
about
that
the
video?
Overruled.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't have a video of myself going into McDonald's.
Okay.
So it was never recorded on a video, or I did not do a digital audio recording of that either.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bird kind of snapped there at the end, boys. All right, that's pretty much it for day 131. Very tedious. Miss Love just taking her time. Doesn't have any witnesses left for the day. Hit subscribe, join Channel membership. Love you guys. Peace out.
Diamonds, diamonds.